Good morning. Most of today's service was recorded earlier this week, but I just want to add the following joys and sorrows that have been submitted over the past week or so. After each joy or sorrow that I share, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." A joy from Jenny Nocera. Jenny says, "My good friends in Oregon, Bethany and Corey Maisel, had their third child. Mother and baby are doing well." Jenny says, "I'm hoping for COVID cases to go down so I can see them sometime soon in person." To Jenny and her friends, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Sandy Ober. Sandy says, "My husband Russ was admitted to the hospital and scheduled for surgery because of a large aneurysm behind his knee, asking for positive and healing energy." To Sandy and Russ, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Mariah McGrogan and Derek Luke. Over the past month or so, Mariah lost both of her grandparents who raised her, and just last week found out that she'd had a miscarriage. Mariah and Derek ask for your thoughts and prayers as they struggle with these losses. To Mariah and Derek, we hold you in our hearts. Sorrow from Melissa Hill. Melissa says, "My mother-in-law, Beverly Smutney, was admitted to Jefferson Hospital after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Please send her healing thoughts, energy, and prayers." To Melissa, her mother-in-law, and family, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow submitted on behalf of Bob Lee. Bob's mother-in-law, Martha, was admitted to St. Clair Hospital this week after falling and injuring her head. To Bob and family, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Clara Danner. Clara says, "My dear friend Lisa is struggling with COVID pneumonia in Michigan while recovering from a broken leg and her mother's death." To Clara and Lisa, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Lindsay and Jim Downs. They say Lindsay's mom, Lori Green, entered hospice last week. She fought so hard for 2.5 years after doctors told her she would probably only survive a year after being diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. Even in hospice, when they said she had hours to days left, her warrior spirit is still fighting. She is surrounded by loved ones as she makes this final life's transition. To Lindsay and Jim and Lori and family, we hold you in our hearts. Let us bear in mind all of these joys and sorrows, as well as those that are held too closely to be shared at this time.
Welcome to this online service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. Our mission is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Mary Jo Hennessy, and I serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you are a newcomer or a visitor to our online service, please let us know you're here by posting a comment on our Facebook or YouTube feed, or you can go to our website, sunnyhill.org, and click on the New to Sunnyhill button, and there you can let us know who you are, and we can let you know how you can connect with our congregation even during this time when our building is closed. Our guest speaker today is Reverend Christina Spode. Christina has spoken at Sunnyhill before and has recently become minister of UU Church of Tarpon Springs, Florida. Previously, she has worked as a chaplain at the Geisinger Medical Center in Danville, Pennsylvania. She is a native of Northeast Ohio, a graduate of Kent State University, and the Meadville Lombard Theological School. And we are very grateful and happy that she is joining us today. Our opening words were written by Lynn Cox. Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourselves on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, you who have been in a bubble, you who are poised for transformation. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey.
Please join us in saying the words for lighting our chalice. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among
Once, two frogs were hopping through the forest when they accidentally hopped into a big churn of cream. The sides of the churn were so slick and slippery that there was no place to hold on to, so the frogs had to swim in circles just to stay afloat. After a long time, one said, "There's no hope. We're doomed to drown in this churn." The older frog said, "Don't lose hope. Life is a circle. There are bad times and there are good times. One must endure the winter to see the spring." The young frog was not so sure, and he said, "You're wrong. We're going to die, I tell you." And the older frog said, "We must keep hope alive, for if hope dies, we too will die. But if we keep hope alive, we will live to see another sunrise." But the younger frog was already starting to lose hope, and he began to sink down into the creamy liquid. "Keep hope alive," cried the older one. Then the younger one started repeating, slowly at first, "Keep hope alive, keep hope alive." The more they repeated the words, the stronger they felt, and the more strength they had, the better they could swim in circles. As they swam and swam around and around in circles, an amazing thing happened. They realized they weren't sinking anymore. The cream had turned to butter. The two frogs were able to hop off the butter and out of the churn. They landed on the ground just to see a beautiful sunrise. The older frog said to the younger one, "Remember, my son, life is a circle. Despair may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And the two frogs hopped away into the woods. The end.
There is love holding me. There is love holding on.
The reading today is called Decisions by Boris Novak. Between two words, choose the quieter one. Between words and silence, choose listening. Between two books, choose the dustier one. Between the earth and sky, choose a bird. Between two animals, choose the one who needs you more. Between two children, choose both. Between the lesser and the bigger evil, choose neither. Between hope and despair, choose hope. It will be harder to bear. All right, so for our meditation time together today, I am going to invite us to breathe and to just get into our bodies a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment, however you can, as long as it's comfortable, to start with feeling your toes. Just wiggle them around a little bit. Be aware of them. And then sort of move your feet around. Maybe turning them a little around at the ankles. And just being aware of them. And then moving up, inviting you to notice your calves and your knees. Just notice, be aware of them. If there's something going on in your body that you would like to spend a little bit more time on, please do so. But if you're ready, you can just kind of move up into your thighs and your hips. Kind of do a little dance in your seat, maybe. And then notice your waist. Take a breath and be aware of your core. And then take a moment and wiggle your fingers. Be aware of them. Your wrists. Your elbows. And your shoulders. And if you're like me, take a moment and notice your neck. So mine always is carrying my tension. Just roll it around a little bit. Be aware of it. And then when you are feeling centered, take a few moments and take some deep breaths. Be aware of the beating of your heart. That center, core of our being. And remember that you, we all are held in love. All right.
I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul
burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose
I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Good morning, Sunnyhill. It is just a delight to have been asked to be with you again this morning. And even though we are not actually together, I am thinking about our time that when we gathered in the rec center and the time in your beautiful new sanctuary. I know that you are missing it. And I just hope that you are taking this moment now to imagine being together in that space again. Coronavirus cases are on the rise, setting new records as hospitalizations are also increasing, with some places wondering about rationing equipment and PPE. Racial atrocities continue in our names. This election was undoubtedly the most fraught of my lifetime, and although many of us are relieved at the outcome, we are also still holding our breath as we wait out this transition period. Among the things that I've had to read recently include a piece called How to Stop a Coup, because evidently while America has become great again, we have also completely devolved into a developing nation, including the way in which we don't have the infrastructure or the interest in protecting our citizens from a raging pandemic. Eventually, hope did win this election, but given how tight it was, it could have easily been otherwise. My personal hope is that we now understand that things really are this bad, and that we can recommit ourselves to the work ahead, the work of healing and the work of helping each other heal. And the road will be long. And so in the meantime, where are we supposed to look for and find hope to help carry us through these endless days? Everywhere. The doom scrolling we hear about in the news is a consequence of the world being on fire and people not knowing how to cope. But I believe that we are not looking for doom, even if that may be what we find more often than not. I believe that we are looking for hope. And perhaps social media isn't always the best place for it, but perhaps it really is, or it can be. Let's help each other find hope in the most common and unlikely of places. Let's consider young people, including those who are too young to vote, getting involved in the voting process as poll workers and making sure that eligible voters are registered, including Spanish-speaking young people, to make sure that native Spanish speakers have access to their rights. As many poll workers are older and in at-risk categories, there was greater engagement of younger people to get involved in the process in the ways they could, and they accepted this invitation to keep others safe and to be a part of the process eagerly. They have, in turn, been taking this education and sharing it with their peers. And you may have heard by now, this election brought a number of joys across the country. The people of Oregon voted to decriminalize all drugs. That one alone, just wow. The people of Mississippi voted to change their state flag, the last to finally drop the Confederate flag as their representation. The people of Nebraska voted to stop predatory payday lending. The people of Colorado voted to protect access to abortion. The people of Delaware elected their first transgender state senator. The people of New Mexico became the first to elect all women of color to the House, 3 women, 2 of them indigenous. The people of Nevada voted to protect marriage equality in their state constitution, the first state to do so. The people of Florida approved an amendment to support a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour. A total of 3 Native American women have been elected to the House of Representatives. There was so much good that came out of this election that shows that we are indeed making progress, that change happens in many places and in many forms. The work of liberation is often slow. The arc bends but degrees at a time. But this is how we make sustainable change. Turning to our congregations, our sibling congregation in Rochester, New York, like many of our congregations, put up a Black Lives Matter banner. The congregation voted on it and they were pleased. Now, if you don't know, in Rochester, this is not a statement without risk. Not that it ever seems to be, but the Rochester Police Department has a history of killing Black folks and targeting those in the Black community. Because this has only gotten worse and the community is working hard to hold them accountable, people have been protesting in Rochester a lot. And the protests sometimes become quite violent, one of the consequences of having a highly militarized police force. And street medics have had a crucial role in getting people care and treatment. In the location that had been used as a makeshift triage center, the medics had been getting harassed, and the medics and the building became targeted, making care and treatment less safe. Because of the UU Church's work in the community, they were asked if they would be willing to host a new clinic site. Of course, their building has been closed due to COVID, and people were concerned about how hosting this site might impact them. They weren't sure about opening the building. But with their Black Lives Matter banner hung, they were faced with a question about their commitment to their values. And so they decided they would host this new site for the Street Medic Clinic. Congregants have bought and brought bottled water and collected supplies that would be in need. They figured out how to make sure to keep the building secured, with people opening and locking the building up, even with the difficult and weird hours that can come with a street medic clinic. When questions began about opening the building for other groups and events, the reply from the board was that the building is only open for saving lives. And if we turn to our sibling congregation in Columbia, Missouri, they too have a story. During the influenza pandemic of 1918, many of our Unitarian and Universalist congregations, along with other faith communities, responded to the devastation of the pandemic to become field hospitals, children's shelters, and even, in some cases, makeshift morgues. Inspired by these stories, the UU Church of Columbia has decided to offer their space to the local Room at the Inn program, which offers shelter to houseless neighbors for 3 months in the winter. Because their space, though not large, was the largest available for this use, they are hoping to be part of an as safe as possible shelter experience that will keep those who need it cared for when winter comes. These stories illustrate that the work we do never takes one particular shape, and because it is so contextual to the needs of a community, because of the pandemic, so many things are needing to be rethought and reconsidered. Ideas that in normal times might not be possible are now. For example, I don't know any congregation that will be willing to open its doors to the houseless for 3 months in the winter in normal times. But now the possibility is there, and they are acting in a way that is in line with their beliefs, values, and mission. They are committed to hope and to healing in their community. Even with the election over, there is so much work to be done. And with creativity, we are finding ways to do it, even in the midst of a horrible pandemic. Because it matters. It matters to all of us. And this work is a movement, not a moment. We are in this for the long haul. We know that it will take work, so much more work than we had thought. But the marks of progress being made are everywhere, and we will continue to build. When I stumbled across the phrase, hope is commitment, it gave me pause. Then I came across hope is a strategy, and again, I paused. As someone who has never truly been hopeless, these simple phrases started making connections in my brain about why that was so. Because hope is commitment. Hope is commitment to the belief that we will rise again tomorrow. Don't be fooled. Hope is work, and it is specifically commitment to doing the work so that we will rise again. Hope is commitment to possibility and creativity. Hope is commitment to each other. In Holly Near's song, I Am Open, she sings, I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would be so strange. It dishonors those who come before us, so lift me up to the light of change. It's important for us to remember in good times and bad that we are connected to our ancestors, those who come before us. Some have undoubtedly done harm, but many more have done good. And it is on their good works that we ourselves draw strength and reminders of our commitment to continuing to build on what they started. We are moved and held by those who came before, as we are by those who will follow, as our work is never for us alone. In committing to hope, we are committing to being good ancestors. Hope with creativity, with imagination, that is a potent combination. Hope keeps us dreaming, thinking, planning, making. It helps us wonder about new possibilities, about what a better world would look like and how to get there from here. And those dreams and thoughts and plans help reinforce the sense of possibility, of potential outcomes, and willingness to try and keep trying that help us feel like we're getting somewhere and giving us more hope for the future and for our place in the journey. Hope and commitment can feed each other. When we're feeling hopeless, we can commit to trying, to working, and to giving ourselves hope for a different outcome. And if we are working and have no hope, our commitment to continuing will falter. Feeling unmoored but hoping for change? Hope cannot be idle, for without work, without trying, without some direction, it is unsustainable and will peter right out. Hope keeps things moving, moving forward, moving deeper, moving us all. Moving enough to build the foundations and the layers that will help us get free, like the frogs in our story. And it's important to note that hope doesn't mean all wins. It doesn't mean that things move on a regular, smooth trajectory in a straight line, that hope doesn't confront obstacles. Hope is what keeps us going in those times, keeps us fed in spirit, in heart, and mind as we seek for the next moment, and the next, and the next. Hope, like justice, is built one moment at a time, but as a movement. Hope can take time and builds one layer after another. When obstacles arise, and they will, hope flows around, perhaps with annoyance at the need to change course, but with momentum, still unstoppable as it forges its altered path. Hope is defiant, a ceaseless flame. Hope is harder to bear, as Boris Novak wrote, because it requires us to be a part of it, to keep nourishing and nurturing it, to keep it healing and going, to keep it alive. With our golden yellow shirts, for some time, Unitarian Universalists have been called the love people, because all people could remember of our siding with love theme was love. We were and are the ones who showed up when asked. Our numbers may be small and our work not near done, but we try and we show up. We work, we mess up, we try and work some more. I would argue that we are not only the love people, loving more boldly in the name of that which is greater than we are, for all the ways that life is embodied on this planet, but that we are also a people of hope. We are people who dream and imagine, and gosh, do we fail sometimes, but we keep trying anyway. We lay some foundations and struggle, but keep moving forward. We have our focus on justice and freedom. And sometimes we don't go far enough. But one of the things that I have learned to love about our people is that as more people recognize some greater, wider, more loving call for justice, we reorient ourselves to that dream. It sometimes takes time, but as the Reverend Louis B. Fisher, once Dean of the Universalist Seminary at St. Lawrence University, wrote, "Universalists are often asked to tell where they stand. The only true answer is that we do not stand at all. We move. We are a people of movement, just the people for this moment, in this movement." I know we are all seeking for hope today and will be for some time to come. I'm telling you, when it's not to be found out there, the world can be a disappointing place sometimes, I know, especially when we may be feeling the soul of our nation is lost. Then we turn inward to each other in this congregation, to our reminders of strength and care and possibility, of hope, to remind ourselves of our best selves, of our better selves, and of our need for each other, to remind ourselves of our promise to possibilities and to the future. This congregation has been moving in new directions, as we all have been since the beginning of this pandemic, being creative about how to do its work, your work, our work. And even in a pandemic, in a country divided, you are hopeful, dreaming, thinking, planning, making, in the place where we can, in the ways that we can, with the people that we can. And the work of hope is only possible with your work, with our work together. I know that the pandemic has affected everything and nothing feels sure right now. But one thing that we can do in this moment is nourish the dreams of the future to come. Some of the words that sustain me in times when things that are hard and I'm seeking a balm, words of hope, words of power, words of comfort, are these from Emma's Revolution. Gonna keep on moving forward, never turning back. Gonna keep on moving proudly, never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly, never turning back. And so here we are, here for the movement to bring hope and love as we move forward together, never turning back.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
We'll now give and receive our morning offering. We do not have a designated beneficiary for today's offering, so any non-pledge income will go toward our general operating budget. But we will continue to have special offerings in the weeks to come as we identify and try to meet pressing needs in the larger community. If you'd like to make a donation via our online giving system, you can do so in one of two ways. You can go to sunnyhill.org and click on the big green button that says Online Giving, and then follow the instructions. Or you can give by text at 412-324-3130 Just push the buttons on your smartphone, and again, please follow the instructions. And you can also mail a check. Our mailing address is at the bottom of the first page of our website, sunnyhill.org. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
Please join us in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words were written by Norman Naylor. Our eyes and minds now turn toward the ordinary. Leaving this space made sacred by our presence, take with you at least some seed of understanding, hope, and courage, and drop it into the confusion of the world. Nourish the seed, that it may grow as a tree of life, giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despairing. Be yourself a branch of the tree of life. Go in peace.